Welcome to my guide for Minecraft Pocket Edition PvP. Hopefully, this video will succeed in trying to help you improve in what I think are the four main aspects of combat in Minecraft. Quick disclaimer, I am definitely not the best when it comes to PvP, but I have been playing MCPE for a few years, so hopefully I can provide some insight on how to improve your PvP ability. Hope you enjoy. Having good settings to make sure you can succeed in PvP is very important. In PvP, there are really only two categories of settings that don't just come down to personal preference, which are the touch and video sections. First, let's take a look at the touch tab. Your sensitivity should be low enough for you to track your opponent, but high enough for you to make quick flicks. The most important thing is to experiment with different sensitivities and find what's comfortable for you. After sensitivity, there are four settings that come down to personal preference. The next setting that matters for PvP is the split control setting. Turning it on forces you to use a crosshair instead of tapping anywhere on the screen to do various actions. You want to turn split off, since it's impossible to move your screen while attacking with split on, which is very important. While you also can't move your screen and attack at the same time with split off, since you can tap anywhere on your screen to hit, it minimizes the disadvantage you have against players on other platforms, who can move their screen and attack at the same time. Moving further down the touch tab, you should turn on the lefty setting if you're left-handed, turn on swap, jump, and sneak if you play with two fingers, and turn off touch-only effects hotbar if you have more than one brain cell. Wait a minute, that means I'm supposed to have it all. Button size is the last setting in the touch tab, and is quite important. How large your buttons are depend on the size of your device, the size of your fingers, and what feels comfortable for you. Your buttons should be large enough for you to comfortably tap them without missing, but also small enough for you to switch between buttons quickly. Personally, I find a button size of 75 works well, but it's different for everybody. Next up, the video tab. There are only a few settings here that matter, so anything I don't mention, you can experiment with yourself. Camera perspective should be first person. Hide hand should be off. Hide paper doll lets you see your armor without opening your inventory, but since it's a small advantage, it really comes down to whether or not you like the look of your character in the top left corner. FOV should be anywhere between 50 and 110, depending on how you want your game to look. And last but not least, GUI scale modifier should be 0. Like I said earlier, the rest of the settings may change how your game looks, but not how effective
You brutally murder your enemies.
There are two types of aim in MCPE, tapping on your opponent and moving your screen. Both are very important in PvP, and can be the difference between winning or losing fights. Tapping on your opponent can really only be improved through consistently playing PvP game modes, but accurately moving your screen can be improved more efficiently than just through playing the game normally. Remember how earlier I said that you shouldn't use split controls? Well, although split is worse for PvP, it forces you to aim more than using non-split, making split the best way to practice moving your screen efficiently. So in order to get good at non-split, you have to play split. This totally makes sense. Although having split on is the first step to improving your aim quickly, simply activating a setting isn't instantly going to turn you into Technoblade. On the other hand, my next tip for improving your aim will also not. That tip is to use split controls on the server Ectary. Ectary has a ton of game modes to efficiently practice aim. Personally, I would recommend their build FFA, as it provides consistent aim practice, whether that be for killing your opponents or placing blocks. Mastering your movement is vital in PvP. One of the most important parts of movement is strafing. Strafing is when you move unpredictably to try to dodge your opponent's hits. When you strafe, you should be using a combination of all of your movement buttons besides backwards. Having good aim is important when strafing, as you need to accurately move your screen and tap on your opponent. Another important aspect of movement is W tapping. W tapping is used to slow down your movement enough to keep your opponent both in front and above you. Keeping your opponent in front of you is important because you can't hit someone if they're not on your screen, and keeping your opponent above you is important because Minecraft reach is calculated from the head. So when someone is above you, they must reach further to hit you than you to hit them. To W tap, you need to time your sprints with your hits in order to maximize how much knockback you deal. After hitting your opponent while sprinting, you must let go of the movement button until you are ready to sprint and hit again. Repeat this, and if you get the timings right, you can combo your opponent until they back away or you kill them. Remember that the exact timings for W tapping are different depending on what server you're playing on, and that you should only W tap if you need to prevent yourself from catching up to your opponent while comboing them. Projectiles are a key part of MCPE PvP, and mastering them can help you gain the edge on good players. There are two kinds of projectile combat. Pre-melee, when you use a projectile to get your opponent into a combo, and projectile only, when you have a bow fight with your opponent, fire a snowball to knock someone off halfway across the map, or other similar long-range attacks. I'll be going over projectile only first. Your main long-range weapon will be the bow and arrow. The further away you shoot an arrow, the longer it takes to get to where you are aiming, and the more it curves downwards. So, when shooting a bow, especially from long range, you must aim slightly higher than where you think your target will be by the time your arrow travels the distance between you and them. I would recommend Versai's Archer Duels for bow practice. Other projectiles, like snowballs and eggs, have more of a drop, which you must adjust for, especially from long range. Now that I've covered projectile-only combat, I can get into how to start combos using projectiles. To start a combo using projectiles, you need to have your opponent run at you. This usually happens in most PvP fights, so just be ready to react quickly when it does happen. Your goal is to fire one or more projectiles when your opponent is 3 to 6 blocks away from you, so you can slow them down and get them into the air to gain low ground advantage. As I explained earlier, Minecraft reach is calculated from the head, so being at lower ground than your opponent allows you to hit them more than they can hit you. This means once you get them into the air, you can combine everything you've hopefully learned in this video to get them into a combo. Thanks for watching this guide. I'm in the process of making a Minecraft Bedrock server currently, and it would be very appreciated if you could support it, whether that be through Patreon, YouTube, or Discord. Also, huge thanks to Silver for helping me with this video, and Hazelbee for providing one of the clips. All of the links will be in the description. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed, and bye-bye.